Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about what is a conclusion paragraph. As you can probably guess, conclusions are the final paragraph of any essay. It does not only count for 5-paragraph essays, but for any length of essay that you will end up writing, short or long. Um, this is also where the main thesis is reiterated, and we'll get into that in a minute of what that means. And this is where you will include your final thoughts on the essay's topic. So, what should you include in your conclusion paragraph? Start off, you need to include a paraphrased version of the thesis statement. Um, Sometimes this needs to be a very obvious paraphrasing, especially in literature. Sometimes it's more of a general restatement. However, usually most professors, most courses, most essays you'll have to write needs to include some kind of repetition of the thesis statement and theme in some way in the conclusion. What does paraphrasing mean? Let's look at the original thesis statement that we've been looking at throughout the course. And it reads, traveling abroad is the best way to spend a vacation because it gives people a chance to learn about other cultures, practice a foreign language, and learn more about world history. This is the paraphrased version of that thesis statement. It reads, overall, traveling abroad is a more stimulating experience than staying at home. Now, this is a very short version of the original thesis statement. Your paraphrased thesis statement does not need to be this short. I wrote it this short because it's going to be just the beginning of the rest of my conclusion paragraph. And this is a simple reminder of what it was that we were talking about. When you're writing more complicated essays on research topics or course themes, your paraphrasal of your thesis statement is going to also be a little bit more complicated. The example that we're using here in the course is a writing prompt that might be seen more in a language exam, sometimes at university for writing prompts as well, and also in high school. So it's a more general statement, but if you're doing essays at university in one of your courses and you're having to do research, often it's going to be a little bit more comprehensive, both the thesis statement and its paraphrasal. So that was what you should include in your conclusion paragraph, but what else can you include? Well, unlike the introduction and the body paragraphs, you have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the conclusion. Now, there are some things you can include and some things you shouldn't include. One thing you can do is you can highlight why your essay's theme or topic is important. Of course, you need to check what it is you're writing about and see if that would be an easy way to finish off your essay. Some essays it may be, some essays may not, so it depends. Another idea is to include a mini summary of the body paragraphs. This is not a complete summary. You're not repeating all of the topic sentences back, but you are kind of repeating the overall subtopics that you included in the body paragraph to reinforce, the overall idea you were trying to explain. Another idea is that you add more information on the topic. So sometimes if you're talking about, say, travel, here you can add extra information. Not a lot, but a little bit is like a fun fact or something additional, but not a full paragraph. You can also include information that contrasts with or disagrees with your essay's theme. So in this example essay, we've been writing about how that traveling abroad on vacation is a positive. In your conclusion, you can also mention that some people might not agree with that. Some people might say that it's better to stay at home or cheaper to stay at home. And so you can mention that in your conclusion, if of course you haven't overall talked about that too much in your introduction. You can also include a short quotation. The word short here is very important, and I don't always recommend you include quotations in your conclusion paragraphs because some professors will see it as just filler, like you didn't try to write enough, you just found a quote and just threw it in there. So make sure that if you decide to put a quotation in your conclusion paragraph, that that quotation is helping finish off your essay and it's helping drive your main thesis, your main theme forward. It's not just filler quotations. You can also include other subpoints to your thesis statement. So as you're brainstorming what you want to write about based on your thesis statement, you're going to have three topic sentences, three topic ideas that really are stronger for you and it's easier for you to write about those three. However, you might have 4 or 5 or 6 ideas and the other ones maybe just aren't as strong or you don't have as much information or you had to edit. In their conclusion, this is a place where you can mention that there are other points that are also valid to consider regarding your topic. So another thing can be, for example, that the food abroad is different and it can expand your palate, for example. So there are lots of things you could add to it. What should you not include? There are things you shouldn't include in this, and it's important to also mention those. First of all, long quotations. While short quotations are sometimes acceptable if used correctly, long quotations absolutely not. You, your professors will generally always see that as just filling it with other people's words. You need to be finishing off your conclusion with your own ideas to drive your point home. So long quotations are not supposed to be in conclusion paragraphs. Extensive historical information. Some people will use or try to use the conclusion paragraph to give extra historic background information. This is not the place for that. If you felt that the historical background of something is relevant, then you needed to include that in your body paragraphs, not in your conclusion paragraph. And absolutely not another full subpoint. I know some of you may feel like you have 4 good things to talk about, for instance. The conclusion paragraph is not a place for you to include that 4th subpoint. You need to include just 3. You can briefly mention that other idea you had, but you can't make the conclusion paragraph a complete another idea. And that's it. So that's our overview of conclusion paragraphs. Good luck.